Peace, peace. Coming. Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Hakeem Shakur Ami, the Honorable One, Asafo, Dr. Hakeem Shakur Ami, Asafo. Peace and blessings, hope you're well, hope everybody's beautiful. Man. I wanted to have this conversation. I wanted to, just add on. I think it's essential for many of us to, really just open up our minds and really know the difference between workers and talkers and thinkers and versus individuals who just talk in these little small spaces that they aren't growing and they aren't really impacting the masses of people like myself and those of us that support my growing established movement. And so what do I mean? So I hope that that I'm able to really articulate, because unfortunately many what you call Afrocentric people and in the cultural conscious community, unfortunately many their analysis isn't solid in terms of their growth, in terms of their evolution, and so they become just like a cult, for instance, and they don't, it's really, really interesting how cults operate, because unfortunately many people don't escape the cult without, for instance, and they don't grow. Like I was, semi a part of several different cults at different times. I mean, I'm not like a part, but if you study different things and you could be influenced by them on different levels. And so, but fortunately for me, I always had a well-rounded, healthy, balanced lifestyle, and so I've been able to grow and be like really truly impactful. So what do I mean? So unfortunately, there are many that just, they use YouTube as like their escape mechanism, for instance, and I don't see them anywhere, and nobody knows them really, and they think that they have like some solutions, and unfortunately, they will never truly grow, unfortunately, unless they are challenged to. And so this is for them that, they in these small little groups. They may get like certain views and a few followers that aren't growing, and they're very content. Very content economically. Even their network, and they have offered even critiques of myself. Right. Let me just give this example. For instance, the past 3 days, I utilize, since I think globally, I utilize, Annapolis as like, one of my key global organizing strategies, right? Because what you have, for instance, you have a synergy of power, for instance. This is what, mature scholars like Dr. Amos Wilson would perhaps see me as his torch carrier, if you will, or the rightful, shall I say, successor, right? I am Dr. Amos Wilson, rightful successor. Now, what do I mean by that? So, the past few days now, and this is the weird, crazy thing, like that many of these people, for instance, they don't understand that, you got to understand power, right? And they think power is being in these little isolated groups and having, some little, discussions about themselves and how they doing. They don't think about impacting the broader community, right? They don't think about impacting the broader community. Peace, God, peace. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, brother Marcus. And so the past 3 days, not including the day, I went to the governor's mansion first and foremost, and I did some posts. Of course, I took some pictures with the governor. That was on day one, and then I went to on day two, like 2 days ago. I'm sorry, the 25th. I went to what's called the Sister States. Now this is some real Africans, right, versus the not so real Africans, the wannabe Africans that haven't taken any young people to Africa like I have. But you have, for instance, what was I gonna say? We had the sister states, the sister cities, sister states, where several different African countries were present. For instance, the Liberia community were present, the South African community were present, as well as the Nigerian community were present, right? So here's the thing, like, you have people who claiming that they Pan Africanists, right? An African Senate or whatever, but they don't connect to any like continental Africans, right? Now, and so there's these discussions around ADOS and the new thing that Dr. Umar is talking about, but see, you got to have real, true, good character, and unfortunately, we get people, and it's a delicate balance. See, because sometimes people think that they too educated to be, in certain spaces. I've even heard, for instance, one time, some very, so-called Afrocentric people, and they didn't think that I heard them, but they said something about, something about politics. I'm just like, people are people, man. If you're sitting around looking for somebody to show you a red, black, and green card, or profess their loyalty to you, or profess their, make some kind of fake African centered like bow down or pilgrimage or something to prove how black or how African that they are. That's not like that. Like, that's not no power. That's not no power mover. That's a cult. And so what you have is like people utilizing Africa as a cult, right? They're using the whole, I'm going to Africa, and you got some that's addicted to, for instance, to going to Africa, because they running from reality. They don't feel like they belong, or they can't compete, for instance, in America, and so they want to run. And no disrespect. I mean, I feel like we should be doing these things. It's a delicate balance, of course, but many haven't organized in the context of a real global Pan-African business dynamic, right? So, so that's the first day. Day one, with the Governor Westmore at his mansion, and then day two was in the Senate building with several other countries were there, of course, and you can look up sister cities and Maryland sister cities to see the different countries that were present and that participate in that. And so I was happy I was able to be present because here's the thing, and I want you all to wake up and realize, and some people may wake up, some people may never, that some of these little rites of passage programs, for instance, they not taking our people to another level. I'm just calling it as it is. And some people, they having some awards thing tomorrow in Baltimore, but these groups, they not growing. And I don't care how long you been married, how long who you laying down making babies with. That's not gonna cut it. Like there are a lot of, I mean, unhealthy, unhappy, average couples being together. Like I just can't accept it. I just gotta grow. Like I just gotta make moves. Right? I just gotta think big. I have to grow. I have to make, I want to live a certain quality of life. And when you, if your whole crew, a bunch of people that's making 20, $30,000 a year, something like that, and getting food stamps, like that's not no movement. And some of these cultural conscious groups, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to say that you got to be uppity and bourgeoisie, because that, on the other end of that, you have, some of these people that, definitely don't have like a level of, cultural consciousness. And I'll give you this example. I called in on Carl Nelson's show today, and I was talking about Elijah Muhammad, and I said something about the balance between, separation and integration. You have separation and integration versus segregation, versus what I call ethno aggregation. Right? They're different things. Like you don't want somebody to force you. I mean, and honestly, America is still, like segregated on many different ways. There's an economic level of segregation. And I gave the examples, for instance, of how many people in this system, there will never be some separation or this isolated type of world that we live in, where people, the races are like like purity tests, for instance, like that may never necessarily exist. And so you have to develop different types of tact and wisdom and skill and build with those that are growing. Right? You can't have like no community and all y'all do is just hang out in like the hood. Like, I mean, what are you building? And that's where, difference between me, I'm beginning to reach out. I've continued and always reached out to those, who have like a level of consciousness and capital, right? And it's a difficult balance, because unfortunately, many people want to be stuck in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Many of the people, that just read books, they haven't been to Africa. They don't go and interact with Africans. They don't go in, certain, people in spaces, and they want to think that all we got to do is beat on some drums and wear some African clothes. I got some nice, like, African Center clothes, you know what I'm saying? So, just like last night, a sister said, I'm used to you wearing African clothes. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I do. I'm like, man, listen, I've seen Negroes with suit and ties. I've seen Negroes with African centered dashikis. I've seen some relatively, just unethical, immoral people with some African centered clothes, and they go to Africa every single year. They run rights programs, like in the Baltimore area. Like, I'm just like, look, I don't have a single cut card. Like, stop showing up for these, black African centered cults, like, these little churches, quasi churches, and people thinking that they supposed to be the grand poobah, the greatest leader. I probably read more relevant books than most of them, and this is why, and a healthy balance of these books. So, I don't particularly feel like I should be following anybody like that. And so this is why, I'm building various types of power and influence, and people are respecting me beyond these limited circles. And so what you have, for instance, in order to keep the cult alive, the African centered cult, and show, for instance, why these Afrocentric people aren't growing, they have to, sort of make like a little adversary thing, like, yeah, he ain't as conscious, So no, I just simply I've been able to study enough and reflect enough to know what's important. And unfortunately, these people, they never will, move to a position of true power. I'm studying, I shout out, I went to, an event with Paul Coates, and none of them were there. No, none of these different groups of people were there. There were a few brothers, a few conscious brothers there, but, for the most part, many of these people who, believe they are, conscious, cultural, they weren't present again. And just like, rather typical. And it was right downtown, and it was free. Like, shout out to ABC, another group that I've, attempted to, cultivate a level of relationships with. And, unfortunately, many of these others, they don't, they stay in their little circles. So they're going to miss certain things. And that's what I'm saying. Now, you can't pull everybody with you. You can't pull everybody to liberation and freedom, right? And unfortunately, now I'm to the point where I gotta like sort of offer these critiques, and so that the real, eventually, I'll plant a proper seed, whether it's between everyone's place where I've read most of the books there, and or eventually the real conscious people will begin to wake up, and they will see, because you can see the fruits, right? And no, and just in case anybody need to know, no, I don't. I'm not. I'm not doing the sorry black man, sorry black woman, sorry Afrocentric couple thing. So many of these, black men couples, and some of these black men are actually simps. They're very simpish, and they're not functional, and they're not in a position to build any power, right? And so what I'm doing now, I'm really focused now on my health, like for real. And somebody, let me say, last night, and I'll go to day 3. So, and I got some articles coming. Day 3 was NVE night in Annapolis. It was epic. It was powerful, impactful. All of Maryland, everybody that's somebody was present last night in Annapolis. Everybody that's somebody was present. Now, it may not have been the RBG flag waving brothers and sisters, but no disrespect to anybody. I have the utmost respect. And matter of fact, I'm writing an article because a sister invited me to Dr. Julius Garvey. There's a panel on HBCUs and technology, or ABCUs and AI. It's tomorrow at 12 noon, so I appreciate the opportunity. See, I'm able to connect with real, powerful people, real workers, builders, thinkers, right? And this is what you have to do. You have to, sometimes you have to look at where people are going, right? And, know their work. And what I was going to say, sister, I was at this MVE thing. She was like, "You been working out?" I'm like, "Yeah, hello, something. Yeah, no, I mean, so, I ain't playing no more." I'm like, "No, so, I'm stepping up, like, getting my, everything, like, everything. I'm putting in the time, doing the heat saunas, the weights, the cardio, like, drinking the water, taking my herbs. And matter of fact, I need to take my multivitamins and my minerals. So, I am like not, being well-rounded. See, and sometimes you can't be well-rounded if you have, a bunch of people pulling you back, right? And this is what you have to be truly conscious of. Like, you can't, you can try to, plant some seeds in people's minds, but if they rebellious and, ideologically controlled because they haven't studied and they can't think for themselves, like, and they can't move for themselves. I'll give you some examples. I recall some years ago, Ash Wakwesi brought master teacher Ashwa Kwesi for Baltimore. And I recall, and before that he ain't been to Baltimore in years, and he only come once a year because of me or the brothers in D.C. And I said I tried to get some people to come, and somebody said they couldn't come because their group had a meeting. I was just like, you mean to tell me you gonna miss Ashwa Kwesi, and you worshiping Kemet, and you saying Hotep, and you gonna miss this? That don't even make sense. That's not even a good strategic idea. Like, at least you can listen and see someone that actually has done 30, 40 trips to Egypt, to Kemet, right? So I just was like, man, you can't win, for losing with these people. Like, it just don't make a whole lot of sense for me. And so I never, I started thinking like, man, where's the courage, the independence of thought? Like, I realized, like, I have to be able to think for myself, and that's why I started going to D.C. like some years ago, because you gotta see what other people are doing. You gotta be able to think, right, and stop. Come out of these little crews and read the right books. You gonna have to analyze. So I have some young youth with me, like and I keep organizing. And what I'm seeing is eventually I'm gonna be around, because I'm gonna drink my smart water. I'm gonna take my herbs. I'm gonna have my money, right, and not let no scrubs, and definitely not having no no woman. For instance, this is why black men fail. Like, one of the reasons that black men fail, and I'm not saying that it's every circumstance, but many black men they don't have the wisdom, and they are, controlled by sex, and they can't think for themselves and build anything for themselves because they are trying to please women, right? Trying to somehow, it don't matter how unwise the ideas, how unintelligent the ideas, they just will allow for some women to do and buy anything and live, and it's just like, where's the priorities? And see, this is where, mature communication comes in. I mean, we have 50% divorce rates in the black community, and and it's different standards, of course, but ultimately, when you are becoming successful, and healthy and holistic and well balanced, right? You should be in a position to have, certainly quality women that respect and appreciate, and that are, in that are healthy holistically, right? And so this is what you get when you don't like have certain standards about yourself. So yeah, so day one was at the Governor's Mansion for a Black History Month event. Day two was the sister state, sister cities event in Annapolis, and day three was the MBE night. So I didn't, I really didn't want to, bang on any Pan Africanists like that. But I just wanted to share, like, for those that's ready to grow to another level, like, there is different levels of consciousness. Like, you cannot just stay stuck on people and stay being a cult groupie follower, right? You have to read for yourself, and you have to build for yourself, and sometimes you have to go and expand your network Expand your network. Stop being lazy. Stop just getting on YouTube and watching people. You have to read some books. And yes, I've read a significant amount of them. The difference between me and the rest of some of these black men in Baltimore is that they are content. I've seen enough old black men in Baltimore that haven't like elevated, right? That haven't like truly raised up themselves. And unfortunately, even many of our families, they don't help each other. And I'm just not going to allow, to have peers and have family that just have bad success habits, like bad lifestyle habits. Like you have to win. You have to get out here and win. And I'm just saying, I had a winning weekend. The MBE, man, it was packed with people that looked like me and other people that didn't look like me, and I didn't see a lot of people. So I'm like, look, man, I mean, in the bigger scheme of freedom, like you just don't have the economic plan to do for self. Like you just don't have that balanced analysis, right? To be able to lead, the masses of people. And I'm saying that I have a better plan, right? And so this is why, I'm ready to keep building in these different spaces. And shout out to those that continue to, evolve with me. I'll be in Annapolis again on Tuesday. It's some of the rights for some of the female previously incarcerated. So I'm going to try to make it down. So big down. It's time me to go sleep. Just be some lavender up and do my thing. So again, yes. So keep on elevating. I had such a wonderful, wonderful time the last 3 days. But again, some of the Pan Africanists aren't able to make proper critiques, and I want you all to know it so that you won't be looking at me and thinking that I'm like them. And no, I can't be like that. I can't be like, some of the uppity bourgeoisies as well, so it's just like, okay. So every once in a while I do my little thing. And so, but, let me just tell you, I'm so focused. I'm so determined. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm going to win very wisely. So I'm happy, excited about the future. Progress is being made. Only have time to build and grow myself, and those that appreciate, respect, and appreciate my work and my legacy, and those that don't just aren't gonna, will be shown that they haven't grown in their wisdom, even after I have given proper advice to them. And so that's why I'm just like, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Don't be just hanging out with people because that's who you grew up with. Always strive to be around better people. And this is why I was able to get in a book with Les Brown and Dr. George C. Frazier. And however anybody feels, relative to them, but they have accomplished a significant amount, and they are still in demand as international motivational speakers. And I'm becoming in demand myself, one way or the other. It's going to happen. I'm telling you, barring any catastrophic type of emergency or something happen. But, health-wise, I'm good. I'm not going to have a stroke. I'm not going to have a heart attack anytime soon. According to my self-diagnosis and other diagnosis, I feel pretty good. So I'll be around. So count on me to win, and do share with some young conscious brothers and sisters that want to win and that willing to grow, and they are tired of being dumbed down by, Pan African cults. All right, peace and blessings. Thank you, brother.